Hey there, hi there, ho there. Good morning. This is Dawn Zoldi. I'm your host for the Inner Drone Drones at Dawn podcast. And we are so glad to have you here today. Just a reminder, this is a live stream, so please, please, please be active. And our last mover and shaker of the month is Kyle Sanders. Kyle, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kyle is the Vice President of Education and Development for U.S. Drone Soccer. And yes, it is a thing. So we are going to learn all about not only drone soccer, but Kyle. So Kyle, let's just go ahead and start there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm a former Air Force pilot and instructor at the Academy. But my real passion has been education and outreach for the last 10 years. I've been very involved in classroom programs, including directing a statewide science festival, which is how I got wrapped up in drone racing and drone sports. I think that, drone soccer is what really gets me excited because it combines so many different elements of aerospace education, and it's something that teachers and students are really excited about.
Well, let's talk about that. So just so everybody out there knows, I met Kyle personally, about a month ago at the Rocky Mountain, or at the Wings Over the Rockies Museum. They had an amazing drone career day. I dragged my oldest son, Reese Zoldi, along. Reese is an aeronautical engineering major at RPI out in New York and a Part 107 pilot. And that's when I met Kyle. Actually, Reese had met you earlier, Kyle, because you guys had a competition, and Reese flew with Vic Moss, the inevitable Vic Moss. Everybody knows Vic. So we've got some amazing folks in Colorado. And even before that, my youngest son and my husband had met you at one of the local events at, I believe, a space museum here in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, the Space Foundation.
Mm-hmm. The Space Foundation. And they came home so excited. They said, you have to meet this guy. You have to see what they're doing with this drone soccer. And when I did, I was like, absolutely everybody. I don't just have to meet Kyle. Everybody does, because what you're doing, it's not just a sport. So sport is amazing. Let's talk a little bit about exactly what U.S. drone soccer is and how it's a STEM educational effort as well.
Yeah, so drone soccer sounds like, what are we talking about? I get that a lot. This is a prototype drone soccer ball that we've been developing in partnership with iFlight RC, one of the leading manufacturers of racing drones. And this is a racing drone with a custom chassis around it. We're trying to compete in this new sport called drone soccer out of South Korea, where it's really picking up steam across Japan and Europe. The game is full contact, so these are designed to crash into each other. It looks a lot like Quidditch would look, but with drones.
So Harry Potter.
Yeah, you're colliding with another team trying to fly through their hoop, which is the goal, and it's similar to drone racing, but it answers a lot of the challenges that drone racing has had. That it's not a spectator sport; it's difficult to learn. But drone soccer, anybody can pick up and start flying, and these are very crash resistant. But like any new sport, the challenge is, how do you create, the national support for this? And so that's why we're focusing so intently on educational drone programs. Youth sports are the foundation for every professional sport in the country. And, you join your school, football team and raise through the sport, or little league, whatever that might be. So in developing this program, we've really been testing and working closely with teachers, and especially career and technical education programs here in Colorado.
So let's back up then and talk about, before you get to colliding with each other and getting the drone ball through the hoop, what has to happen in the classroom to set up the student for success with this particular program? What do they do with the drone and with the drone ball?
So we've really developed a total solution. I feel like teachers are demanding drone programs, but it's a difficult thing to get into without knowing what to buy, what's compatible, what can you do with it. And then flying outside is a whole host of problems for schools. They have to get a 107. So we've really designed this safe indoor activity. They don't need an FAA license to participate, and it walks students through all the basics. A lot of educational drones are ready to fly out of the box, and so students are missing out of so much learning about how to build it and how to program it. We use Betaflight, which is an open source flight control software that drone racers are used to, but a lot of drones, may not need to ever be programmed. And so walking them through how to build it, but then also how to program it, how it thinks, is the foundation for this sport before they even get to fly. And so we're seeing it being used a lot, as just classroom enrichment. They're not even, they in the future want to participate in the sport, but right now teachers are like, I have engineering classes that I need this. So it's been a lot of fun to see what the real classroom needs are.
So they're literally building it, like it comes in pieces and parts, and they put it together, mm-hmm. and then they code it, and then they fly it.
Yeah, that's right. So they have to be able to understand, how this is built, because in a competition, in a tournament, there's battle damage. They're smashing into each other as hard as they can. And in between rounds, you have to know how to diagnose it and swap parts out and fix it. We really designed a future-proof drone that is easy to repair with just a single driver, can fix the entire drone. Pretty much everything on it can be repaired in, just a couple minutes. And we found that, a lot of drones out there require soldering, which is a dangerous skill that teachers may not have the patience to teach their students. So having a plug and play motor is really useful.
So we have a question here. Are these manual or automated games?
So that's a really good question. We are future-proofing for future autonomous games, but right now this is all manual. It is line of sight, though we're experimenting with allowing camera drones. So we've got, right here's my HD DJI first-person view camera. And so it's fun. This sport had the first international meet in South Korea at the end of 2019, and then COVID hit. So everyone around the world is kind of at a pause, developing the technology, but not able to test the gameplay. And so as soon as these students are able to get out there and play it, they're really going to drive the sport and come up with new tactics and strategies that we haven't thought of. So we're trying to account for how this game might grow and evolve.
So you mentioned the international aspect, and I believe, Kyle, when we talked earlier, you said the international size drone and the soccer ball, for lack of a better term, is much larger than the one you've just designed and showed us for the classroom. Can you explain why the bigger one and why the smaller one for the classroom?
Right. So the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale is the governing body for a lot of aviation sports and competitions, and they're the governing body for drone soccer and drone racing. The international size is double this. It's about 40 centimeters, so kind of a beach ball size. But that requires a very large court to play, kind of a basketball court size. And, it's prohibitive for schools to adopt. And we really, there are rule sets for this 20 centimeter size. But kind of like drone racing, there's been the push for professional drone racing with the larger, faster drones outdoors. But we've also seen widespread adoption of the tiny whoop racing for students. And so we think that a smaller drone is more accessible for teachers, and it brings students into the sport. And we're currently designing the larger international class drone. And that's the one that our guest mentioned, that will have room for autonomous, modules and things on it. So we're working towards that, and we're planning on having some of the first international competitions with Team USA sometime in early spring. next
Well,
year, 2020.
I was going to say, 2022. Okay, got it. Yeah, we really wanted to take off here, and I know Colorado is going to be really your launch pad because we're both here, and this is where your home base is. But I also know let's back up before we talk about future partnerships and how people can plug into U.S. Drone Soccer. Explain, you said the court, the size of it, explain kind of what this looks like and how it actually works in practice.
Right. So 2 equal teams. You could go 3-on-3 up to 5-on-5. The international rule sets are for 5-on-5. And you have a 10 by 20 foot arena for these little guys with a 10-foot height. And this is a completely enclosed netted arena. And on either end, you have a suspended hoop that is the goal. We're actually developing a automated goal scoring system that can detect which drone is flying through the hoop and reject your own team, but also reject anyone who is not the designated striker, which is the one drone on the team that can score the goal. Everybody else is blocking for them. So all of this is kind of being offered as a total solution for venues. We're rolling out in Colorado because we have a fantastic partner in Wings Over the Rockies Air and Space Museum. They will be taking delivery this week of the first official U.S. Drone Soccer arena. And we're going to begin student competitions and community events to begin testing our final pre-market version of this drone. We're hoping to launch next month.
Oh, this is absolutely amazing. So how do people plug in? You mentioned teachers have expressed great interest in, even before the sport really takes off, having these in their engineering classrooms. How can they plug into U.S. Drone Soccer and at least start that and maybe even start a team?
Right. We've had a lot of interest and that we weren't ready for or anticipating, but it's been exciting. We had 4 high school programs here in the state that were very eager to do the testing with us. So they've been building and flying the prototypes and really identifying what students and teachers need to make this something that they can easily use and learn about drone technology while they're doing it. So that's been great. We're essentially done with that process, and our final revisions have been all submitted, and it's a very exciting time. We're going to be launching our public-facing program here within the next 30 days that will include registrations for new school programs in select areas. So we're intensely trying to build this community around this new sport here in Colorado, because it's not like drone racing where you can just show up on a Saturday and race against whoever's there. You need a team and you need coaches and referees. And so building that whole community around this drone sport is our next challenge, getting enough schools to adopt and enough teams to adopt that we can have a robust league. But we do have partners in Minneapolis and elsewhere who are all eager to build their own programs. So that's all coming very soon. Anybody that's interested, in this pre-market, getting on the list, you can go to dronesoccer.us, and we have a form there for anybody who's interested, whether you're a teacher, a venue who wants to host a drone soccer arena, or a community pilot who just wants to play. And then here in the next few weeks, we'll be rolling out that league enrollment for those areas.
I love this. Someone in the chat here said it's like roller derby, but for drones. That's so funny. That's like flashback to the 70s, right?
Yeah, I would have called it drone hockey,
Yeah,
it's roller derby. It's intentionally crashing and trying to knock out other drones. So drone rugby, maybe?
Yeah, there's so many different facets. Someone said they missed a bunch of the stream, and what I'll tell you all out there is all of these podcasts are available on Interdrone's Launchpad, usually the Thursday after the stream is live, and they're also available on my Patreon page. I'll have some bonus footage with Kyle on my Patreon page as well, which is exclusive to my Patreon community. So please consider joining that. But Kyle, what you're doing is amazing. And so the world runs on money. And so my question is, how much is this going to cost me, right? Like, how much does this cost per unit? Because we both know unfortunately, a lot of educational institutions, especially the public school system, are low on funds. So how much does this cost? How can people afford this program to get it into their classrooms?
Right. And so we've been working really closely with career and technical education programs. They have funding provided through state and federal sources for career training that doesn't come out of the school's pocket. And so we've really been working with them. And actually in District 11 here in Colorado Springs, we were able to get 2 high schools fully funded from the local AFCEA Educational Foundation, which is fantastic. So we're trying to price this more affordably than other robotics programs. But to answer your question, this drone soccer ball itself will retail for about $180, which is similar to other educational drones like the DJI Tello. It is a lot more rugged, and students can crash this and keep flying. And I think that that's important to, keep them from getting frustrated about those early failures.
Well, I'm going to jump on that for a second, Kyle, because you just used the word frustration, and I think young people in particular can get frustrated if the vehicle is hard to fly. So one of our listeners had asked, how difficult is this to fly? Is it easy to control?
Oh yeah, this comes out with a training wheels protocol. But it's very stable. We're finding that in drone soccer, it's not the speed that counts. You don't want to be as light as possible. You actually want to be as heavy as possible up to the rules limit, because you're pushing other drones around in the air. And this had to be stable enough to collide with the goal and with the net and with other drones and still continue flying. So we do fly it in angle mode. For those of you familiar with racing, it is self-leveling. It hovers very easily. And we have those training wheel settings on for new students that they can adjust to become more aggressive over time. But we really try to be thoughtful about new students and teachers, all the way up to the professional drone racers who've been testing with us. So we include everything, including a toolkit, batteries, radio controller, replacement parts. Everything you would need comes to less than $500 per drone. And we're finding that in the schools, we're doubling up students, so they kind of work in a pair to work on the drone and practice flying. And so that's really comparable to other traditional youth sports. If you're going to get your kid in a little league, you got to buy them all the equipment and then pay the registration. So we're really trying to keep this at that affordable community sport level.
Yeah, you used a term teamwork, and I love that because you're teaching not only STEM, but you're teaching teamwork, you're teaching leadership. And so having been a United States Air Force pilot and whoop whoop and United States Air Force Academy grad, I have to give a shout out. Kyle, I did the math this weekend as I was reflecting and preparing for this podcast, and I realized 1/3 of my entire Air Force career, which was basically half of my adult life or my entire adult life, was spent at the United States Air Force Academy in 4 different capacities. So I know you take all those lessons from the Academy and as a pilot in the United States Air Force forward. What inspired you from that background to get involved in drone soccer, and what do you hope to inspire others to become?
Yeah, I spent 8 years at the Academy myself, and I can see it out my window. I was a cadet and studied space system engineering. I actually was captain of the D3 club hockey team, and then came back later in my career as an instructor pilot. So I spent a lot of time here. But even as an Air Force instructor pilot, I found drone racing too difficult to get into. I didn't know what to buy and how it went together and what was compatible. And I just found a total lack of accessibility in the hobby. And I think what was missing was a supportive community, a coach or mentors and a built-in support system to help people learn. And so I think in drone racing, there's still this hobbyist mentality that's, not necessarily welcoming of newcomers. I've never played an individual sport. I'm not a runner or a swimmer. Ice hockey is a dynamic team sport that's exciting. And that's what I want. I want a team, I want a league, and I want, strategy. Let's run plays, So I think that's what really drew me in about drone soccer, is that a lot of pilots who maybe freestyle flying is the only thing they can do right now. But drone soccer is now a new sport that they can join with their friends. And even if they're not great at flying, it doesn't take a lot of skill to hover and be useful. You can get in the way without a lot of skill. And that's
I was going to say, I don't know if he's watching. I asked him to, but it doesn't mean he is. If my husband is watching, look, if he can score a goal, anybody can score a goal. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. So he's a PE teacher and a coach for lacrosse. Never flew a drone in his life, and he had an absolute blast. And so what I will say to that is, if he can do it, anybody can do it. So I know it's something that is widely usable by many, many people. And, you mentioned something else, Kyle, earlier about this idea that you're kind of building it as you fly it when it comes to tactics for this sport, because it's such a brand new sport. How exciting is that? So, tactics, rules of engagement are hugely important. You know this as a pilot. I know this as a lawyer that advised pilots. So tell us about, what the opportunities are here for people just breaking into this brand new sport.
Well, that's what's exciting, is you look at drone racing as a model, and some of the best pilots in the world are teenagers. And that sport has moved ahead by leaps and bounds, and now it's on ESPN. There's a lot. And I think that what we're seeing is, as soon as people are engaging with the sport, they're discussing tactics and strategies and trying different things. And, we've worked hard to make sure this drone is the best, top of the line kind of coming out on the market. But it's a platform, and it's designed to be upgraded. We're already finding ways that students are planning on modifying it to specialize it or have it be more competitive. And that's the whole point, just get them thinking creatively. How can we change this, or how can we fly? I've seen some interesting tactics arise just out of some short test matches. So I think this is really exciting. And as the sport grows, there's so much potential to add additional elements to the gameplay that will keep it exciting as students grow through their high school program into a collegiate program with international size, and then, maybe compete for the US team.
Yeah. And, I love this, because students typically are the ones with all the good ideas. No offense, teachers. I'm a teacher too. I teach at CSU Pueblo, but, it's the students that come up with these great ideas, and they're the ones that are ultimately going to develop the sport. And not only that, but at the same time, they're learning skills that are transferable to the workforce, right? So I know, Kyle, you have a big passion and heart, not just for education and training, but also for workforce development. So can you explain what drone soccer brings to that concept of workforce development for any state or city or municipality that wants to have a drone advanced air mobility ecosystem that's viable?
Yeah, I think an entry level is something that is really desperately needed, and something that students can be excited to do. When they see drone soccer, they just want to play, and that's the carrot for the end of class after they've learned. But that's what we're really trying to do. That's our mission, is to inspire students with aerospace engineering. And so everything that we are doing to build the program around the sport is to show them different career pathways. You divide your drone soccer team into different specialties. You have your operations side that is equivalent to air traffic control, or some of the logistics planning of what it takes to get this team ready to fly. You have your engineering team that's more of your aviation mechanic engineers, aeronautical engineers that know how to do the hardware, how to solder, how to physically print parts for the drone. And then you've got your avionics, your computer science focus of the software and programming behaviors into it. So I think there's really trying to show that there's more to flying than just being a pilot. And I think that so often everyone's so focused on the 107 that we're losing out on all the other career paths that drones can provide.
And being one of these rear echelon support type people, what I will say about that is it's also about the entire ecosystem, right? Because as you think about it, the kids in the school paper, they're going to want to write about this. You may even someday have a cheer squad for the drone soccer league folks at the schools, right? So I could just imagine a whole entire set of different skills and activities surrounding such a league in a school in particular. Well, we only have a couple minutes left. So Kyle, I want to ask you, and by the way, I'm cracking up here because someone in the chat said, yeah, let's put it on the ESPN, the Ocho. It's just,
that's right.
Like dodgeball, right?
This could work as a dodgeball.
It could,
I think we could expand and have drone dodgeball.
Yeah, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a drone soccer ball. I guess there's a tagline for you. You can thank me later. But with our couple minutes left, Kyle, why don't you give us the 30-second elevator speech of really what you want people to leave this podcast with, what you want them to know about U.S. drone soccer?
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is to build academic and community leagues and build a community around drone sports. And we're trying to advance youth drone sports in education that's both educational, but also the competition and teamwork and communication. So I think that if we can get some support around this idea, we could see drone soccer and drone sports really reinvigorating students' interest in aerospace. And if you're maybe a drone company or a venue like a museum or a university who wants to host this for your community, the growth is going to look a lot like ice hockey. You need that convening place in the community that all of these students can come to and compete. They'll practice at their school and they'll have their intramural league, but then they'll have their team that they send out and wear their varsity drone jacket, So that's the future, I think, is moving into esports.
That's awesome, man. And whoever just said that, I'm sorry, the tiny chat over there, they said duck, dip, dive, and drone. I will tell you, I'm stealing that. That is going to be the title of my article for my drone life piece on this sport. I absolutely love it. Thank you. Just a couple minutes left. Kyle, I think you mentioned how they can contact you. Will you mention that again, please, so everybody can make sure they write that down?
Yes, we're in the process of launching our public portal, but dronesoccer.us. There is a get involved tab that you can submit all your information. We'll receive it and work with you on how we can order this for your school program, get it funded, hopefully. And if you're a community pilot or organizer, we're starting to roll out some adult leagues here in Colorado. So exciting time for anyone with an interest in drone sports.
I'm excited, and I'm definitely going to remain a part of this, Kyle. I'm so pleased with what you're doing, and it's awesome that Colorado is going to be out in the forefront of this, our hometown. So props to you. Thanks, everybody that's out there. Before you dial off, just remember that next week, dial in again. We're transitioning to a diversity, equity, and inclusion theme. And our first speaker of the month on March 1st, which actually happens to be International Women's Day, but has nothing to do with the speaker, is someone you probably know and have heard of, Jason Sansucci, another Coloradan. Jason has he actually has 2 podcasts, and he's going to be talking about his not-for-profit called Neurodiversity Works. And so when you think of diversity, most people think of women or gender or even race, but they don't think of the diversity that comes in thinking, in cognitive abilities. And so please dial in. It's another educational effort. And I'd love to, in fact, I think I introduced Jason to you, Kyle, and if I haven't, I'm going to, because Jason works very closely with autistic children and young adults, trying to teach them STEM career fields. And boy, what a way to get them introduced to that through drone soccer. So anyway, that's it for now. Thank you so much for dialing in out here. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next Monday.
All right, thanks. See ya.